The Galactic Council Hall was never truly quiet. Even when the great doors were closed, the air inside always carried small sounds, soft footsteps, whispered arguments, and the constant hum of machines keeping the hall alive. But tonight, something felt different. The silence was heavier, like the universe itself was holding its breath. At the center of the hall, a massive star map floated above a black glass table. It showed thousands of glowing dots, worlds, colonies, trade routes, and protected borders. Most of the dots shone steady and bright. But one area was different. A wide region near the outer edge of known space had turned dark. No signals. No ships. No light. It looked like someone had torn a hole in the map. Admiral Kryn stood in front of the council members, his posture straight, his hands behind his back. He was young compared to most commanders in the hall, but his victories had made him famous. His armor was polished, his metals bright, and his eyes full of fire. He spoke with confidence. "We have confirmed it again," he said. "The silent zone is growing." A few council members leaned forward. Others exchanged looks. Some looked bored, as if this was just another meeting about borders and trade. Kryn turned and gestured toward the black region. 3 reconnaissance fleets entered this region over the last 2 cycles, he continued. None returned. Not one distress call. Not one debris trail. Nothing. A council member with silver skin clicked his tongue. "Pirates," he said. "They hide in dark space and attack weak fleets." Another council member, covered in smooth green scales, nodded. "Or a natural anomaly. Some kind of gravity storm." Kryn shook his head. "No. We checked. No gravity storms. No asteroid fields. No known cosmic events. This is not nature." The hall grew restless. Someone laughed softly from the back. "Let me guess," a voice said, mocking. "You think it is the humans." A wave of amusement rolled through the council. Several faces turned toward the speaker, a tall delegate from the Varn Dominion. He raised his hands like he had just delivered a great joke. "Humans," he repeated. "The little creatures from the old blue planet. The ones who barely made it off their world. The ones who are always behind in technology." More laughter. Admiral Kryn did not smile. His jaw tightened. "They are not behind," he said. "Oh please," the Varn delegate replied. "Everyone knows humans fight like desperate animals. They win small battles. Then they hide. They are weak. Their ships are ugly. Their worlds are poor." The council members nodded as if those words were facts. Kryn wanted to argue, but before he could speak again, a slow sound echoed through the hall. Tap, tap, tap. It was the sound of a cane hitting the floor. All eyes moved toward one of the oldest seats in the council. Elder Vaylor rose slowly from his chair. He was ancient, his body wrapped in ceremonial cloth, his eyes dim but sharp. Time had bent his spine, but it had not broken his will. He had lived longer than most empires. He had seen wars start and end. And when he spoke, even the arrogant listened, at least for a moment. The hall quieted. Vaylor stepped forward, cane in hand, and stared at the dark region on the star map. "That zone," he said softly, "is not empty." No one answered. Even the Varn delegate stopped smiling. Vaylor lifted his head, his voice gaining strength. "That zone," he repeated, "belongs to humans." A few council members whispered. Some rolled their eyes again, but not as loudly. Kryn watched the elder carefully. Part of him respected Vaylor. Another part of him felt annoyed. Old people always saw shadows and ghosts in every problem. Elder Vaylor continued. "Before you were born," Vaylor said, "I was sent with a diplomatic fleet to the edge of human space. We were curious. Humans had just started expanding. They were quiet then too. He paused, as if remembering something painful. We thought they were weak, he said. We thought we could pressure them. Take some of their resources. Force them to pay tribute. The council listened now. Vaylor's hand tightened around his cane. We sent warnings. We demanded access. We surrounded their ships with our fleets. His voice dropped lower. And humans said nothing. Kryn frowned. They did not respond at all, he asked. Vaylor looked at him. They responded, the elder said. But not with words. The air in the hall felt colder. What did they do? Someone asked. Vaylor stared at the map again. The dark zone seemed to stare back. They erased us, he said. A few council members laughed nervously, thinking it was an exaggeration. But Vaylor did not smile. They did not destroy us with fire, he said. They did not chase us. They did not make speeches. They did not shout victory. He leaned forward slightly. They made our ships go silent. The lights in the hall flickered softly, and for a second, the council members looked uncomfortable, as if the elder's words had reached into their systems. Vaylor spoke again, clearer now. Our fleet lost power, he said. Our navigation died. Our engines stopped. Our weapons became dead metal. In minutes, the greatest fleet of that era became nothing but floating coffins. A council member whispered, impossible. Vaylor pointed his cane at the black region. That is what the silent zone is, he said. It is not space. It is a warning. Kryn took a step forward. Elder, he said respectfully, with all due honor, that story is ancient. Human technology cannot affect modern fleets. We have evolved. Our systems are superior. We have shields, quantum locks, AI defense. Vaylor raised his hand, silencing him. That is what we said too, the elder replied. Kryn felt irritation rising. He looked around the hall. Many council members were already returning to their old expressions, bored, confident, arrogant. A powerful council leader, Supreme Director Hesk, leaned back in his seat. Elder Vaylor, Hesk said calmly, your fears are understandable. But we cannot run an empire based on old stories. Vaylor stared at him. This is not fear, Vaylor said. This is memory. Hesk waved his hand. Admiral Kryn, he said, what do you suggest? Kryn breathed in deeply. This was his moment. We must send a full fleet, Kryn said. Not scouts. Not small ships. A real force. We enter the silent zone, locate the cause, and take control of it. If humans are responsible, then we push them back. We show them who rules the galaxy. The hall responded with approval. Heads nodded. Some council members smiled. Vaylor's eyes narrowed. You will cross the line, he warned. And when you do, you will not return. Kryn kept his voice steady, but his pride spoke louder than reason. With respect, Elder, he said, the galaxy cannot fear humans forever. If they truly made this zone, then they are hiding power. And hidden power is a threat. We cannot let them keep it. That statement pleased the council. Supreme Director Hesk stood. Then it is decided, he announced. Admiral Kryn will lead the Vanguard fleet into the silent zone. The goal, find the truth. If necessary, force a response. The hall filled with applause. Vaylor did not clap. He looked at Kryn like a father watching a child walk toward fire. As the meeting ended, Kryn walked out with his officers. The council members congratulated him. They called him brave. They called him the shield of the galaxy. Kryn smiled politely, but inside he felt powerful. This was how legends were made. Outside the council hall, the Vanguard fleet waited in orbit. Hundreds of ships, glowing with energy, packed with soldiers and weapons. The greatest force the galaxy had seen in centuries. Kryn stood on the command bridge of his flagship and watched the stars. The silent zone was far ahead. His second-in-command, Commander Ryla, walked closer. "Do you believe the Elder?" she asked quietly. Kryn did not answer right away. He stared at the dark area in the distance, like a bruise on the universe. "I believe in victory," he said at last. Ryla nodded, but she did not look convinced. The fleet jumped through hyperspace, one wave after another, toward the border of human space. As they approached, something strange happened. Their long-range scanners began to lose clarity. Their communication signals weakened. The stars ahead looked normal, but the emptiness felt unnatural. Then they crossed the invisible line. And at first, nothing happened. No alarms. No attacks. No warnings. Just darkness and distant stars. Kryn smirked. "See," he told his officers. "Silence means weakness." But then the main radar officer froze. "Admiral," the officer whispered. "What is it?" Kryn asked. The officer swallowed hard. "There are objects," he said. "Inside our formation." Kryn's smile faded. "What objects?" he demanded. The officer's hands trembled over the controls. "I don't know," he said. "They were not there a second ago." The lights dimmed slightly. A strange coldness moved through the ship, like invisible fog. Kryn stepped closer to the star map screen. On the display, tiny unknown markers blinked, everywhere. Surrounding them. Inside them. And then, one by one, the fleet communication channels started cutting off. Not with noise. Not with explosions. Just silence. And Kryn realized, in that single terrifying moment, that the Elder's warning had not been a story. It had been the last truth anyone had ever told them. Then, everything went quiet. The first thing Admiral Kryn noticed was not the blackout. It was the feeling. A strange pressure filled the command bridge, as if the air had become heavier. The lights still worked. The screen still glowed. The engine still pushed forward. Yet something invisible had changed, something that made every officer stop breathing for a second. Kryn stared at the tactical display. The unknown markers blinked like cold eyes. "How can objects be inside our formation?" he demanded. "We would have detected them before entry." The radar officer shook his head, sweat shining on his forehead. "We did not detect movement, sir," he said. "They simply appeared. No warp trails. No heat signatures. No mass readings." "That makes no sense," Kryn snapped. Commander Ryla stepped closer, her voice low and controlled. "Perhaps it is a sensor trick," she suggested. "A field that bends detection." Kryn wanted to agree, because that answer was safe. But deep inside, fear scratched at his thoughts like a claw. He forced his voice to sound confident. "All ships," he ordered, "switch to combat mode. Activate shields. Lock weapons." A chorus of confirmations echoed through the bridge. Across the fleet, engines roared brighter. Shields shimmered. Weapon ports opened. The fleet looked like 100 metal beasts ready to bite. But the unknown markers did not move. They stayed close. Too close. As if they were already touching them. A lieutenant leaned over a communications panel. "Admiral," he said carefully, "we are losing signal to Recon Wing 9. Kryn turned sharply. "Repeat." The lieutenant tapped the panel again. "Recon Wing 9 is no longer responding. Their channel is dead." Kryn's eyes narrowed. "Then route through secondary." "Already tried," the lieutenant answered. No response. Kryn walked forward until he stood over the comm station. His voice turned cold. "Open a full broadcast. Fleet-wide. The lieutenant nodded quickly and opened the channel. Kryn spoke with strong clarity. "This is Admiral Kryn. Maintain formation. Do not panic. We have entered an unknown zone, but we are not under attack. Hold position. Await further orders." His voice filled every ship. He expected fear to soften. He expected discipline to return. But in the next moment, something happened that no one expected. The broadcast ended, and did not echo back. Normally, fleet broadcasts bounced through the relay system and returned confirmation tones. This time, there was nothing. No feedback. No response. No sound. It was as if his voice had fallen into a void and died. The communications lieutenant looked up slowly. "Sir, even our own broadcast return is gone." Kryn stared at him. "That is impossible." The lieutenant shook his head. "It's like the system is being swallowed." A heavy silence formed on the bridge. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. Their training had taught them how to handle enemies, storms, and weapons. But not this. Kryn's pride pushed his fear down. "Fine," he said. "Switch to hardline signal. Laser comm." They tried. Nothing. Then they tried tight beam transmission. Nothing. They tried internal coded pulses between nearby ships. Still nothing. It was like every form of communication was hitting an invisible wall. Or worse. An invisible mouth. A warning light blinked on the console of the engine officer. "Admiral," the officer said, voice tight, "engine output on ship 31 has dropped to 10%. Kryn's head snapped up. "Why?" The officer's fingers moved quickly. "No physical damage. No overheating. It's like the engine forgot how to burn." In the next seconds, 3 more alerts appeared. Ship 12, power fluctuations. Ship 57, shield collapse. Ship 9, life support instability. One by one, systems across the fleet began to fail, not with explosions, not with sparks, but like someone was quietly turning off switches. Kryn took a step back. This was not battle. This was surgery. Precise, calm, and merciless. Commander Ryla's face had lost its color. "It's happening like the Elder said," she whispered. Kryn shot her a glare. "Do not bring that story here." But her words stabbed his mind because they felt true. A scream burst through the bridge speakers for half a second, someone from another ship trying to contact them. Then the scream cut. Silence again. The radar officer suddenly pointed at the map. "Admiral, the unknown markers are changing." Kryn leaned in. The blinking points were moving now. But they were not moving like ships. They were shifting like shadows, sliding between fleet vessels without motion trails. Then, one marker appeared directly over Kryn's flagship. Inside it, the bridge lights flickered. Every screen froze for a heartbeat. Then they returned, but something was different. The star map now showed a new symbol. Not an unknown marker. A clear symbol. A simple human code mark. A single word appeared on the comm screen, as if someone had typed it directly into their system. "Turn back." The bridge froze. Even the loudest officers went silent. All eyes turned toward Kryn. It was the first clear message they had received. And it did not sound like a threat. It sounded like a tired warning. Kryn stared at the words. His pride burned like acid in his chest. He had come with the strongest fleet in the galaxy. He had been praised. He had been chosen. He could not retreat because of one message. He could not. He straightened his shoulders. "They are bluffing," he said. Commander Ryla did not argue, but her eyes begged him. Kryn ignored her. "Open weapons bay," he ordered. "Target the sector where these markers are concentrated." The weapons officer hesitated. Sir, we do not have clear lock. Then fire wide, Kryn said. If there is something hidden, we will flush it out. The weapons officer swallowed and pressed the command. Outside the ship, dozens of plasma cannons fired into the darkness. Bright beams cut through space like burning spears, lighting the starfield for a moment. Nothing exploded. Nothing appeared. The shots vanished into the dark like water into sand. Kryn smirked. See, he said. They are nothing. But before anyone could respond, the entire bridge trembled. Not from impact, but from something like a wave. A deep vibration passed through the ship, as if space itself had been struck like a drum. The lights went dim. One officer screamed as his console went black. Then another. Then another. The engine officer shouted, "Power grid collapse." The shield officer cried, "Shields dropping." The life support panel began flashing red. Kryn's heart pounded. "What is happening?" he shouted. The radar officer's voice cracked. "We triggered something," he said. "It's like, the space around us responded." The star map changed. The unknown markers were no longer blinking. They had become lines. A net. A silent net tightening around the fleet. Then the comm screen flashed again. Another message appeared, colder than the first. "Last warning." Kryn stared at it, but before he could reply, every system alarm in the ship screamed at once. And in that chaos, one terrifying truth became clear. The humans had not attacked because they feared the fleet. They had waited. Because they were deciding whether the fleet deserved mercy. And Kryn had just given them the answer. As ship after ship went dark, drifting like dead bodies, Kryn watched his proud armada become a graveyard. And he finally understood something too late. Silence was not weakness. Silence was control. And the silent zone was not empty. It was hungry. The fleet did not explode. That was the most terrifying part. If there had been fire, the officers could have called it battle. If there had been wreckage, they could have measured damage, repaired systems, and fought back. But what happened inside the silent zone was different. It felt like the universe had turned the sound down on their existence. Admiral Kryn stood rigid on the bridge, gripping the rail so hard his knuckles turned pale. Around him, his crew moved like shadows. Their voices were lower now. Their steps were slower. Every officer looked as if they were afraid to wake something sleeping in the dark. On the tactical display, the Vanguard fleet was no longer a proud formation. It had become a scattered mess of drifting lights, ships without direction, without energy, without meaning. A comm officer tried again to open a channel. "Ship 12, respond." Pause. "Ship 12, respond." Pause. Only static answered at first, then even the static faded. The panel turned gray, like a dead eye. Commander Ryla stepped toward Kryn, her face tight. "Admiral," she said quietly, "we have lost contact with 79 ships." Kryn's jaw clenched. "They are still out there." "Yes," she said. "But their systems are not." Kryn wanted to argue. He wanted to insist this was temporary. A trick. A temporary signal drain. A wave that would pass. But deep inside, he knew it was not. Something here was deliberate. Something intelligent. He turned to the navigation officer. "Route us out," he ordered. "Reverse course. Jump back across the border." The navigation officer swallowed and shook his head slowly. "We can't." Kryn's eyes sharpened. "Explain." "Our jump drives won't charge," the officer replied. "As if power refuses to flow. The core is active, but it cannot ignite." Kryn stared at him, disbelieving. "That's not possible." The officer pointed at the readings. It is happening across every ship still responding. It's like we're trapped inside a cage that eats energy. That word, cage, brought Elder Vaylor's warning back like a blade in Kryn's mind. Kryn felt anger rise. Not at the humans. At himself. He had ignored the Elder. He had laughed inside his heart, even when he pretended respect. He had believed the galaxy belonged to the strongest. Now the strongest fleet in the galaxy could not even move. Kryn turned toward the star map. The dark region surrounded them like an ocean with no shore. The stars looked normal, but the space between them felt wrong. It felt controlled. Then the lights flickered again, and the bridge became colder, as if something unseen had entered. A new message appeared on the main display. Not in their language. In human text. A simple file name. Archive, First Contact, Elder Vaylor. Kryn's breath caught. That's his name. Commander Ryla stared, eyes wide. How do they know him? Before anyone could stop it, the file opened by itself. A holographic recording filled the air. The council hall vanished from Kryn's mind. The bridge vanished. For a moment, it felt like the ship had become a theater, and the past had stepped inside. The recording began. A younger Elder Vaylor appeared, still old, but stronger, his spine straighter, his eyes brighter. He stood in the center of a different bridge, surrounded by officers in older armor. In the recording, Vaylor spoke calmly. "We have reached the edge of human territory," he said. "Stay alert. Human silence does not mean peace." The scene shifted. Outside the viewports, human ships floated in space. They were not flashy. They were not sleek. They looked heavy, industrial, almost ugly, like floating fortresses built by workers, not artists. Their hulls were scarred and dark. Their engines glowed softly like coals. And they said nothing. Vaylor's fleet surrounded them. A diplomat in the recording laughed. "They are afraid," he said. "Look at them. They hide behind silence." Vaylor turned toward him sharply. "No," Vaylor said. "They hide nothing. They simply do not waste breath." Then the recording showed something that made Kryn's stomach tighten. A signal was sent from Vaylor's fleet. It was a demand. A threat. A warning. And in response. Nothing. No reply. No weapons fire. No movement. Just silence. The diplomat in the recording smirked and gave a new order. "Lock weapons," he said. "If they don't respond, we will take what we want." The fleet aimed at the human ships. And still the humans did nothing. Then, without warning, Vaylor's screen flashed red. One by one, systems shut down. Not slowly. Instantly. Communications died. Engines stopped. Weapons became useless. The recording captured panic, officers shouting, alarms blaring, people trying to restart systems. But no matter what they did, nothing returned. Vaylor shouted, "Report." An officer screamed, "Our power is gone. We're dead in space." The diplomat panicked. "Fire. Fire now." But their weapons were silent. Then the view changed to the human ships again. They were still not moving. Not attacking. They simply stayed there like watchers. Then a human voice finally came through. Cold. Calm. Almost tired. "This is human border security," the voice said. "You have crossed into restricted space. Your systems have been disabled for your safety." Vaylor demanded, "What have you done to us?" The human voice answered something that froze Kryn's blood. "We did not destroy you," it said. "We only removed your ability to cause harm." The diplomat screamed, "You cannot do this. This is war." But the human voice responded. "This is not war. This is quarantine. The recording ended. The hologram vanished. The bridge returned. But nothing felt the same. Crin's mouth was dry. His throat tight. Around him, his crew stared at the empty air like they had just seen a ghost. Commander Ryla whispered, "They didn't fight." Crin's voice came out rough. "They didn't need to." He turned back to the main display. A new message appeared. It was short. Clear. "You were warned." Crin felt something crack inside him, his pride, his certainty, his belief that strength meant violence. Humans were not violent for pleasure. They were violent only when necessary. And what they used was not chaos. It was control. That was what Elder Valor had tried to explain. Humans did not conquer worlds. They controlled outcomes. They built borders that acted like traps. Not to take land, but to keep danger out. Crin looked at the drifting fleet markers. 1,000 ships, useless, silent, floating. In that moment, he understood what the silent zone truly was. It was not empty space. It was a weapon. A quiet weapon built so perfectly that it didn't even need to show itself. And now the Vanguard fleet was trapped inside it. A faint voice came through the bridge speakers, weak, broken, almost dead. "Admiral, this is Ship 57. Crin rushed to the comm console. "Speak." The voice trembled. We see something." "What?" Crin demanded. The voice grew quieter. "It's not a fleet." Crin held his breath. "It's one ship," the voice whispered. "One massive ship." Then the transmission cut off. Crin turned toward the viewport. At first, he saw only stars. Then he saw it. A shadow passing through darkness. So large it made their flagship feel like a child's toy. It moved slowly, like it had all the time in the universe. No lights flashing. No dramatic weapons. Just one giant human ship approaching like a silent judge. Commander Ryla's lips parted. "Admiral." Crin could not speak. His heart was pounding. The human ship was not rushing. It was not angry. It was simply arriving. Because the humans had finally decided the fleet did not deserve mercy. And as the massive ship closed in, Crin realized the most horrible truth. The elders had not warned them about human weapons. They had warned them about human patience. Because humans did not strike fast. Humans waited. They watched. Then they ended things quietly. And now, everything was about to become silent forever. The human ship approached like the shadow of a planet. At first, it was only a dark shape against the starfield. Then its surface details came into view, layers of heavy armor, thick ribs of metal, scars across its hull like old wounds. It wasn't smooth. It wasn't beautiful. It looked like it had been built to survive hell and return for more. Admiral Crin stood frozen near the viewport, his eyes locked on the massive vessel. The ship did not hurry. It moved with slow confidence, as if time meant nothing to it. The bridge crew watched in silence. Even the alarms seemed to grow weaker, as though afraid to make noise. Commander Ryla stepped closer to Crin. Her voice was barely a whisper. "It's alone," she said. Crin nodded slowly. His mouth felt dry. "One ship," he muttered, almost like he didn't believe the words. "One ship, against the Vanguard fleet. In any other part of the galaxy, that would have been a joke. A single ship would be a sacrifice, a distraction, or a desperate final stand. But here, in the silent zone, it felt like a sentence being carried out. The human ship's engines burned with a deep orange glow, not wild like a fighter's, but steady like a furnace. Heat distortion shimmered behind it. The light from those engines touched the drifting alien ships like firelight in a graveyard. Crin turned to the radar officer. "Scan it," he ordered. Weapons, engines, shields, everything. The officer shook his head quickly. We can't, sir. Our scans bounce back as blank data. It's like the ship refuses to be measured. Kryn clenched his fists. He hated that feeling, being blind, being powerless. He had built his life on control, on knowing what was in front of him. Now he was facing something that did not care about his pride. The ship came closer. Close enough that its hull filled the viewport, blocking half the stars. Then it stopped. Not far. Not near. Just, exactly where it wanted to be. And it did nothing. No weapons armed. No lights flashed. No threatening message. It simply hovered, watching. The crew could feel it, like eyes on their skin. A communications lieutenant spoke nervously. Admiral, should we attempt contact? Kryn stared at the ship. Yes, he said. Open a channel. Any channel. The lieutenant hesitated. Sir, our comm systems are unstable. Do it, Kryn snapped. The lieutenant obeyed, hands shaking. He activated the emergency broadcast channel, the oldest and simplest system in the fleet, one that relied on raw power pulses, not modern networks. A hiss of static filled the bridge speakers. Then Kryn stepped forward, forcing strength into his voice. This is Admiral Kryn of the Vanguard Fleet, he said. We are a lawful force of the Galactic Council. Identify yourself. The silence after his words felt endless. Then, a reply. A human voice came through the speakers. It was calm. Not proud. Not angry. Just calm, like someone speaking in an empty room. This is Human Border Command, the voice said. The bridge froze. Kryn felt his heart hammer. You have entered restricted space, the voice continued. You were warned twice. Kryn swallowed. We seek information, he said, trying to sound diplomatic. Our scouts disappeared. Our systems are failing. This is an act of aggression. The voice did not change. This is not aggression, it said. This is containment. Kryn's jaw tightened. Containment? You have disabled our ships. Yes, the voice replied. You entered the quarantine zone. The word struck Kryn like ice. Quarantine. Not border. Not territory. A quarantine meant something dangerous was being held back. Kryn forced himself to speak. You call us dangerous? You arrived with weapons armed, the human voice answered. You fired into empty space. You triggered defense systems designed to prevent harm. Kryn's pride flared. Defense? We are a fleet of the Council. We rule these sectors. The human voice paused, and for a moment, Kryn thought the line had cut. Then the voice returned, still calm, but colder. You rule nothing here. A shiver ran through the bridge. The human ship did not move, but suddenly the viewport image shifted. A bright beam of light flickered from the human vessel, not a weapon, not an attack, more like a scanner. It swept across Kryn's flagship like a silent spotlight. Every officer tensed. The ship's lights dimmed further. The oxygen systems flickered. Kryn turned sharply to the engineering officer. Report. The officer's voice trembled. They're pulling power. Not from us, around us. Like they are draining the space itself. Kryn stared. That's impossible. But it was happening. A new message appeared on the bridge screen, human symbols again, translating into council language as it formed. Judgment mode active. Kryn's blood ran cold. Commander Ryla stepped toward him, fear in her eyes. Admiral, they're not here to fight. Kryn whispered, then why are they here? Before anyone could answer, the human voice spoke again. Admiral Kryn, it said. Kryn flinched. They knew his name. The voice continued. You came because you believed silence meant weakness. Kryn's throat tightened. You believed the elders were afraid, the voice said. You believed your fleet made you strong. Kryn's fists clenched. We are strong. Yes, the voice replied. You are strong. That is why you are dangerous. The bridge went still, like a tomb. Kryn forced his voice out. What do you want? The human voice remained steady. We want you to leave, it said. But you cannot leave. Your fleet is too deep. Your systems are too compromised. Kryn's eyes widened. So what happens now? A long pause. Then the human voice said something that made even hardened officers feel fear. We decide if you live. The words were simple. But they carried absolute power. Kryn's pride shattered into rage and panic. You cannot kill a council fleet, he shouted. The galaxy will declare war. The human voice responded without emotion. The galaxy does not get a vote inside this zone. Kryn took a step back. The human ship's hull lights became brighter for a moment, then faded again. It felt like breathing. Then the human ship sent a pulse into the silent zone. Not loud. Not violent. A pulse of pure, quiet energy. All remaining fleet markers on the map turned from yellow to red. Systems failed instantly across dozens more ships. One after another, they went dead, like candles being snuffed without flame. On the comm panel, desperate voices tried to scream, but the screams cut off mid-sentence. Kryn's eyes widened in horror. His fleet was dying without battle. Without honor. Without even noise. Commander Ryla whispered, "This is execution." Kryn's voice cracked. "Stop," he shouted into the comm, "stop this. We will withdraw. We will leave." The human voice answered. "You had your chance to leave," it said. Then the voice softened slightly, like a memory of mercy. "The elders warned you," it said. Not because they feared humans, but because they understood humans. Kryn's eyes burned. He felt shame, fear, and helplessness mixing in his chest like poison. He looked at the human ship again. It wasn't showing anger. It wasn't showing victory. It was simply doing what it had been built to do. Contain danger. Erase threat. Keep the silence. And then something new happened. A small beacon launched from the human ship, tiny compared to its size. It drifted toward Kryn's flagship and attached itself to the hull. A message flashed. "Prepare for boarding." Kryn's heart slammed against his ribs. Commander Ryla turned pale. "Admiral, they're coming inside." Kryn looked at his bridge crew, at their fear, their shaking hands, their hopeless eyes. Then he looked back at the silent ship outside. And for the first time in his life, he understood what true power looked like. It did not shout. It did not chase. It did not celebrate. It simply arrived. And made the universe quiet. And in that quiet, Kryn knew the war was already over. He just hadn't been told yet. The boarding did not begin with explosions. There was no dramatic breach, no angry shouting, no running soldiers. That is what Admiral Kryn had expected, because that is how his people fought. They entered like storms. They broke doors. They learned fear through noise. But humans did not move like storms. They moved like shadows. After the message, "Prepare for boarding," the Vanguard flagship remained silent for a full minute. That minute felt longer than any battle Kryn had ever survived. The bridge crew stared at the sealed doors, gripping useless weapons that suddenly felt like toys. Commander Ryla's voice was tight. "Security teams are ready at all access points." Kryn nodded, though he knew "ready" meant nothing. Their systems were dead. Their internal cameras were gone. Even the automated defense turrets were frozen metal. Only flesh remained. And flesh was weak. Then the lights changed. Not a flicker. Not a failure. A controlled dimming. The ship's corridor lights lowered to a soft gray glow, like a night setting chosen on purpose. The temperature on the bridge adjusted, becoming perfectly comfortable. Kryn felt his stomach twist. "They're inside our systems," he whispered. An officer near the door spoke shakily. "But, how? We're offline." Ryla stared at the panel where their power readings should have been. "We're not offline," she whispered back. "We're owned." A sound echoed through the hull. Not footsteps. Not drilling. Just a soft metallic click, like a key turning in a lock. Then the main bridge doors opened. Slowly. Smoothly. Without force. Kryn's officers raised weapons, but Kryn did not move. His body felt heavy, as if the silent zone had turned his muscles into stone. 3 humans entered the bridge. They wore dark armor, simple and functional, with no bright colors or symbols. Their helmets were matte black, their visors reflective. No faces could be seen. Each carried a weapon that looked compact, almost small, too small for the fear it created. Behind them walked a 4th human. This one wore no helmet. He was tall but not huge. His hair was short. His eyes were calm. His uniform was neat, with a small badge on the chest that read in human script. "Captain." He looked around the bridge slowly, studying every officer, every screen, every trembling hand. And then he spoke. "Admiral Kryn," he said, pronouncing the name perfectly. Kryn swallowed hard. "Yes." The captain stepped forward. He did not rush. He did not threaten. His voice had no pride in it. It sounded like a man reading a report. "You are inside human quarantine space," he said. "Your fleet has been neutralized. You will cooperate." Ryla stepped forward angrily. "You had no right." One of the human soldiers lifted a hand slightly. Ryla froze. Not because of fear. Because her body stopped moving. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Kryn watched in horror as Ryla's arm remained stuck in midair. The human captain glanced at her without emotion. "We can still control your nervous system," he said simply. "Do not test that." The soldier lowered his hand. Ryla collapsed to her knees, gasping. Kryn's voice trembled. What do you want from us?" The human captain looked at him. "What we want," he said calmly, "is for you to remember this moment." Kryn stared, confused. The captain continued. "You came here to prove humans are weak." Kryn's cheeks burned. "You wanted to show the galaxy that silence is fear," the captain said. Kryn could not reply. The captain's eyes moved toward the viewport, where the massive human ship still floated outside like a dark moon. "That ship," the captain said, "is not a battleship." Kryn blinked. "Then what is it?" The captain answered with one word. "A lock." Kryn's blood ran colder. The captain stepped closer, stopping right in front of Kryn. "You entered a sealed zone," the captain said. "We built it to keep dangerous species from reaching Earth and our colonies. We do not conquer. We do not invade. We do not want your worlds." Kryn's voice cracked. "Then why do this?" The captain's face did not change. "Because you crossed the line with weapons armed," he said. "Because you fired. Because you ignored 2 warnings." Kryn looked away in shame. Then the captain said something that hit harder than any weapon. "We warned you, because we didn't want to kill you." Kryn looked back sharply. "Kill us?" The captain nodded. "Yes. We can erase every ship here without damage or debris. You would become a story, another silent fleet lost in the dark." Crin's throat tightened. Then, why haven't you? The human captain paused for the first time. In that pause, Crin felt something strange. Not anger. Pity. Because an elder once spoke for you, the captain said quietly. Valor. Crin's breath caught. Elder Valor. The captain nodded. He came here long ago, he said. He saw what we were. And he learned. He took his people away. Crin whispered, he tried to warn us. Yes, the captain said. And you didn't listen. Crin's eyes stung. His pride wanted to fight, but there was nothing left to fight with. The truth sat heavy in his chest. The captain turned slightly, and one of the soldiers placed a small device on the console. A hologram appeared, showing the Vanguard fleet. Ships drifting in darkness. Hundreds of them. Silent. Broken. But still alive. The captain pointed to them. Your fleet will be released, he said. Crin's eyes widened. Released? Yes, the captain replied. We will restore minimal systems, enough for you to limp out. Crin's heart pounded. Why? After everything? The captain looked directly into his eyes. Because humans believe in consequences, not cruelty, he said. You will leave with your shame and your warning. Crin swallowed, voice shaking. And if we return? The captain's answer was quiet, but it felt like the universe itself spoke. If you return, he said, we will not speak again. Crin felt his entire body go cold. The captain stepped back. Transmit this message to your council, he ordered. Crin nodded quickly. I will. The captain's voice grew even colder. Tell them this, he said. Human space is silent not because we are afraid. He paused. But because we are listening. Then he turned and walked toward the door. His soldiers followed. No threats. No dramatic final words. Just simple departure. Before the doors closed, the captain looked back one last time. His eyes carried no hate. Only truth. The elders warned you, he said, so you could survive. Then the doors shut. The bridge remained silent for a long moment. Officers stared at Crin, shaken. Then the engines flickered. Power returned slowly. Not fully. Not strong. Just enough. The ship's comm panel lit up with a single new channel. A broadcast to the fleet. Crin stepped forward, hands trembling. He opened the channel. His voice came out broken. This is Admiral Crin, he said. All ships, prepare to withdraw. There was no cheering. No victory. Only quiet obedience. The Vanguard fleet, once the pride of the galaxy, turned back like wounded animals. Behind them, the silent zone remained dark. And within that darkness, the human lock stayed in place, still, patient, watching. When Crin finally returned to the council, he did not walk with pride. He walked like a man who had seen the edge of human mercy. And when Supreme Director Hesk asked, what happened? Crin answered with words that echoed through the hall like a funeral bell. We ignored the elders. He swallowed. And we almost disappeared. That day, the council rewrote its maps. A new label appeared on the border near the outer sectors. Human space, silent zone. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy learned a new kind of fear. Not fear of noise. Not fear of war cries. But fear of something far worse. The calm silence of humans who had already decided the outcome. And this time, no one laughed at the elders again.